At 2 a.m., Aaron's phone buzzes. Sam's name and a single line. It's okay. Just pretend it's her. In the dim light of a stalled train, secrets pulse like heartbeats. A kiss that never happened. A past they buried. Tonight, the city digs it up, and someone is watching them breathe. The A train sighed and went still between stations, as if the city itself had decided to hold its breath. Fluorescent lights blinked, held steady, and cast everyone in a blue-white hush. Aaron tasted metal and old newspapers. The car smelled like rain soaked into wool. From somewhere far down the tunnel, a ripple of air crawled across the windows and died. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. The text was a sentence he felt like a fingertip pressed on the seam of his life. It's okay. Just pretend it's her. He stared until the words blurred. The air in the car thinned. The wrongness of the timing, that voice, that line, unlocked. Something he'd spent years wedging behind other versions of himself. The obedient son, the loyal colleague, the man who looked good in savable moments, the fiancé, if he said it out loud. He looked up, as if someone would be standing there grinning with cruel humor. The only people awake were a security guard holding a lunchbox, a teenager passed out with his backpack as a pillow, a man in a Mets cap, a woman with smeared eyeliner cradling a paper cup, and Aaron gripping his phone like it had asked him to jump, another buzz before he could breathe a reply. Hoyt Schermerhorn. Platform K, 220. He knew. He knew without knowing. Sam hadn't owned a phone number Aaron recognized in years. Sam hadn't owned a piece of Aaron that didn't still ache. The line, those words, were a key only one person would use. The conductor's voice crackled, overhead, apologetic about signal problems. New Yorkers exhaled in unison. The train lurched and rolled forward. In the window's reflection, Aaron's face appeared sharper than he remembered, angles carved by late nights and deadlines he kept saying yes to. Over his shoulder, a glossy poster of a white dress arced, like a wave. He didn't wear his engagement. The ring waited in a small velvet box on a dresser he almost never opened. He hadn't told Claire about Sam because he treated Sam like you treat a bad weather system. Pretend it's passing. Pretend it isn't shaping you. Platform K, he whispered, and the words felt like a dare. A decade earlier, the theater smelled of dust and hot lights. Aaron had been 22 and pretending to be someone named Julian, a boy who loved boldly in a play their director promised would collapse the binaries and sell tickets. The blocking called for a kiss. The kiss called for courage. They were alone on stage, blue tape marking where the world began and ended. Ready? Sam asked, his voice a low river. Sam wore a shirt that had seen better days and a grin that made people confess things. Aaron nodded. He had a girlfriend then, who treated his silences like mild weather. He had parents who placed the future like soup bowls, exactly where they thought it should be. The director had stepped out to answer a call. Sam moved closer. Aaron's heart tried to leave the building through his throat. It's okay, Sam whispered, close enough that Aaron could count the flecks of paint on his cheek. Just pretend it's her. He meant it as mercy. Aaron heard it as permission. It was the first lie between them and the last time they'd try to make anything safer by pretending. When their mouths met, the rest of the theater fell away, as if the lights had burned through the stage and revealed a world he hadn't known he'd been walking around. There was no her or him or even names. There was the trembling click of one truth meeting another. They didn't talk about it. They didn't need to. They lasted through nights of coffee and borrowed sweatshirts and streetlight shadows curling in their hair. Sam traced constellations on Aaron's skin with the blunt end of a pencil. Aaron learned Sam's laugh by heart. On stage, they always stopped as the script demanded.
Off stage, they ran past the last line just to see how far the dark would let them go. They ended the way quiet storms do, all at once and with a mess that didn't sound like thunder. At the cast party, someone asked an ugly question too loudly.
And everyone heard it. A rumor bloomed like mold. Aaron flushed and swallowed, his mouth filled with the taste of no. Sam watched his face and knew before Aaron said a word. He left by the side door. Aaron did not chase him. He has never forgiven the boy he was for mistaking fear for good sense. The train scraped into Hoyt Schermerhorn, brakes singing. Aaron stood before he thought better. The doors yawned open. The station's tiled face looked the way old churches look, cracked, patient, aware of secrets. He followed the signs for an alphabet that didn't include K and found a side platform, with the letter stamped on a peeling metal sign as if the city had created it for people who didn't believe in maps. Shadows moved without bodies. A drip of water somewhere became a tick in his chest. His phone buzzed again, left bench by the map. He found the map, the bench, the body that memory had been building toward ever since the first text. There was no envelope, no game. Just Sam, sitting with his elbows on his knees, jealous of the floor. He lifted his face as if he'd felt Aaron come into being. Time had altered him the way rivers alter the stones they keep touching. Edges sanded down, something steadier revealed. His hair was shorter. There was a thin, pale scar near his jaw. His eyes were still the color of end-of-summer water. "Hey," Sam said, and the word did something to Aaron's ribs. "You changed your number," Aaron said, because being ordinary felt like safety. His voice sounded like someone trying to laugh underwater. "I change everything every few years." Sam's smile was slow, careful. Except some things. They stood there, not standing there. The trains hissed and screamed and ignored them. Across the way, a man in a dark jacket took a photo of nothing, and then another of the nothing next to it. Aaron felt watched by the city itself. "I'm engaged," Aaron said. Not as triumph and not as warning, but like a confession to a friend. Who knows the shape of your worst love? Sam absorbed it. He flicked his gaze toward the poster shriek of a bridal dress on the opposite wall, then back to Aaron's face. "Are you happy?" Aaron learned there are questions that are knives and questions that are doors. This was both. "I'm good at it," he said. "At being the person everyone expects, at holding the pose." "Since when is a pose the same thing as a life?" Sam said softly. Aaron almost told him about the night he had stood in his apartment, the ring box open like a mouth, and thought if he could just perform the script long enough, the part would fit. He almost told him about the way his heart sits against his ribs like luggage near the door. "Why now?" Aaron asked instead. "Why that line?" Sam's throat worked. He glanced at the clock, 2:18, and his knee bounced. "Because we ran out of pretending," he said. "Because you didn't chase me, and I told myself that meant you didn't love me enough. Then I realized I never gave you a road to run on. I left without leaving you a way to follow. That's on me, and because echoed between them like an unsent thought." Sam looked down at his hands. "I got asked to do a revival at the old theater," he said. "They're doing it again, the same play, same kiss. The director asked if I'd call you. I told him no. I told myself, no. Then I typed that line and my hand started shaking and I realized I was tired of being brave in the wrong directions." Aaron's phone buzzed on instinct and he flinched. Unknown number again, as if his life had started addressing him from the outside. "You're late," it said. He looked around, silly, guilty, as if the station would frown at him. Sam's eyes flicked to his screen. "Yours?" "I don't," Aaron began and stopped. He wanted to frame this moment between them so nothing could reach inside. He wanted to press his palm to the scar on Sam's jaw and ask the story of it with his mouth. He wanted, for once, to want and not edit it to please an audience that wasn't even watching. A chime sang. A train hauled itself toward them, lights tunneling through the black like some bright animal. "Do you want coffee?" Sam asked, in a voice that sounded like a hand held out in daylight. "Or to walk? Or to sit somewhere I can say the things I didn't say when we were 22 and stupid." Aaron smiled, unsteady. "We were 22 and terrified," he said. "Stupid came later." The approaching train turned the platform wind into a soft shove. The man in the dark jacket lifted his camera again, then turned away. Aaron felt the stitch that had held his past quiet begin to loosen. Sam stepped close enough that their coats brushed, a whisper of fabric as intimate as a promise. "This time," he said, and the line trembled in the air between them. "Please, don't pretend." The train roared into the station and the lights flickered, as if the city was blinking awake. Aaron's phone buzzed once more in his palm. He didn't look. He lifted his eyes and let Sam see the answer there, clear as breath, on glass. Then the doors opened, and the night, patient and listening, waited to see which way they'd go. On the street, the city smelled like rain and warnings. Aaron's phone chimed, unknown again. "You left the ring." A black jacket hovered across the glass like a shadow that could make choices. Sam reached for his hand. Sirens braided the WAM. Dark. Somewhere, a theater door unlocked by itself and waited. They didn't get on the train. The rush of it pushed past, shouldered through the station, and left their coats flaring like flags. They stood in the after silence, then turned away. In agreement, neither of them voiced. Up the tiled stairs, past the sleeping pigeons and the poster of the immaculate bridal smile, Aaron felt the text burn in his pocket. "You left the ring." He pulled the phone out as they hit the turnstiles. The screen glowed that calm, indifferent blue. The little bubble of the unknown number perched at the edge of his name like a dare. He showed Sam. "It's not Claire," Aaron said before Sam could ask. "Different number." "Could be spam," Sam offered. He looked at Aaron's, hands empty of any circle of gold. "Except it knows you left it." "I told you," Aaron said, meaning himself 10 minutes ago, 10 years ago, every version of him that thought he could manage his life by being quiet. "I told you a lot of things by not saying anything." They pushed into the night. The sidewalks shone with a thin sheet of rain. The wind smelled like wet metal and maybe snow. Across the street, a man in a black jacket stood in the fluorescent wash of a bodega, his reflection layered over the shelves of oranges and potato chips. He looked up and away as if the ceiling had moved. "Coffee?" Sam asked. The word was small and reasonable. He sounded like he was rescuing them both from the mouth of a story. Aaron nodded. The diner's neon sign hummed and buzzed and announced cherries, even though only 2 of the letters worked. Inside, the air was the warm, greasy kind that forgives you for whatever you've done. A waitress refilled mugs before they were empty. The tabletop was a map of old scratches. In the window, the city ran on without them. They sat in the far booth, the one that felt like a half-confession, visible but not on display. Aaron wrapped his hands around his mug the way he used to hold Sam's wrists, gently, as if the pulse there was a secret he might scare away. "I wrote you letters," he said. Sam blinked, surprised. He reached for sugar he didn't use. "When?" "All. The versions of when," Aaron said. "After you left the party. After I didn't chase you. After graduation. After that night I saw a boy on the queue who looked like you and my heart did that thing, stupid and hungry and alive, and I told it no. I never sent them. I burned one in my sink because I thought that would make me braver." "Did it?" "It made my apartment smell like paper and regret." Aaron smiled without humor. "I got good at pretending, and then pretending got good at me." Sam traced a drop of coffee with his fingertip, then wiped it away. The scar by his jaw was a pale accent in the low light. "You see this?" he said, touching it. "Rigging accident. A light grid came down during a tech at a community theater in Chicago. I told myself it was my fault because I'd told someone to hurry. I carried that like a religion for a year. Funny thing, guilt, it's so heavy and somehow so portable." He looked up. "I did the same with us. I told myself leaving spared, you. I told myself not calling spared me. I keep making up the kind of mercy that burns." Aaron looked at him for a long time. "You left me a line and a platform that might not exist," he said. "And still, here we are." Sam's mouth curved. "Yeah," he said. "Here we are." Aaron's phone vibrated against the formica. He flinched before he grabbed it. The new message arrived like a breath at the back of his neck. A photo. His dresser. His velvet box open like a dark mouth. The ring sitting in its little crater, reflecting the ceiling light that hung over his bed. The angle was wrong for a memory. It looked like now. His chest went tight and hot. He showed Sam because there was no point pretending that wasn't a shiver moving through him. "We should call somebody," Sam said quietly. "Claire, the police, a super, friend, anyone." "And say what? That a ghost is texting me decor?" Aaron's voice was too loud and the waitress glanced over. He lowered it. "Claire would ask why the ring is still in a box. I'd tell the truth and then what, confess here? Over eggs and pie?" Sam winced, sympathy, not criticism. "Okay," he said. "Okay. Then we figure out if there's a pattern. That first text, mine, the rest, someone else. The part of, the night where we're being followed by a walking jacket, also someone else." Aaron's gaze fell to the dark pane of the window. Outside, the man had moved closer, the diner's neon slicing him into pieces, shoulder, elbow, camera-shaped, rectangle in his hands. He lifted it and the glass glinted like a held breath. No flash, just that slow, patient posture of someone who had time. "What if it's the theater?" Sam said. Aaron would have laughed if it didn't fit too well. "The theater texting. Me like it didn't get closure?" "Places," Sam murmured, mock announcing. He smiled, then stopped smiling because Aaron's phone lit up again. Places. Just that. No punctuation. The word knew where to stand. Aaron typed back without breathing. "Who is this?" The answer came quickly, like a response in a scene they'd rehearsed. "Platform. K isn't real. But the door you want is." Sam's hand found the space between Aaron's and the mug. He didn't take it. He let his fingers wait there. An offer. "The stage door," he said. "It's 3 blocks. The revival they want me for uses the same space. We could go look. If this is a prank, fine. If it's not..." Aaron finished the sentence in his head anyway. "If it's not, then it's the part of the night where everything that's been asleep in him sits up. Let's go," he said, and left money on the table like he was paying for something bigger than coffee. The bell over the door announced them to the street. The man in the black jacket didn't move as they passed. He watched his reflection watching them. The rain had thinned to a kind of mist that felt like skin. The city looked like it had a fever, too bright at the edges, too dark at the core. 3. Blocks never felt longer. Aaron wanted to link fingers. He didn't. Sam kept close, his sleeve brushing Aaron's with every step. It was an accidental rhythm that felt deliberate. The old theater crouched between a vape shop and an insurance office like a fox that had learned to live in a parking garage. Its marquee was dark. The letters were gone except for the ghost of adhesive and the outline of an old season, 2 gentlemen and a lie. The stage door was a scab of paint and dents. Tonight it was cracked open, a narrow invitation. "Locked, usually," Sam said. His voice sounded like he was in church. "They keep a ghost light on when no one's there." They pushed in. The hallway smelled like dust, sweat dried into, wood, and old makeup. The ghost light sent its pale, companionable glow onto an empty stage. It made the theater feel like a living room where the host had stepped out to take a call. The blue tape lines were still there, faint, like veins under skin. Aaron stepped onto the stage and something in him ran ahead into a brightness he recognized from a decade ago. His bloodstream remembered. His palms remembered where to go. He breathed in and out, and the huge room breathed with him. On a music stand, a single page of script waited. The line, "It's okay, just pretend it's her," was circled. Beside it, a post-it with a second handwriting. "Don't." A tremor went down Aaron's back like a string being tuned. Sam stood next to him, and for the first time since the station, he smiled without hesitating. "They say every theater's haunted," he said softly. "Sometimes it's just us, doing the haunting." A floorboard thudded in the balcony. Both of them looked up. The darkness held its breath. A camera shutter clicked, distant and clean. Aaron's phone chimed. Another photo arrived, him and Sam on stage taken from above, the ghost light a halo between them. Hey! Sam called, his voice folding itself into the rafters. Enough! Silence. Then, the envelope of a silhouette near the back row. There, and gone, like the night itself had shoulders. Come down, Aaron said, surprising himself with how steady he sounded. If you're going to direct, at least introduce yourself. Something metal clanged. The house lights surged up a notch, then steadied. Somewhere, a relay clicked like a throat clearing. Aaron felt the tiny hairs on his arms stand up. In the flare of light, he saw the man in the black jacket at the end of the aisle, one hand on the railing, the other by his side, empty. He wasn't old and he wasn't young. He had the look of someone who'd been in too many rooms not his own. When Sati, he smiled. It didn't reach the parts of his face that would have made it kind. Places, the man said, not loudly. His voice carried anyway. Let's not waste a good night. Who are you? Sam demanded. The man tilted his head toward the music stand, as if that were answer enough. Aaron felt a small, absurd laugh claw at his throat. This was ridiculous. This was theater at 3 a.m, the kind of dream that either cracks you open or sends you home to bed to pretend through another day. Aaron took a step closer to the edge of the stage. He felt more alive than he had in years. Next to him, Sam's hand brushed his again and didn't leave. No more pretending, Aaron said, and he wasn't sure if he was telling Sam, the stranger himself, or the room. He reached for the script page, then let his fingers hover above it like a kiss he didn't take. He looked up into the dark that had brightened to gray and felt watched and chosen and not afraid. His phone buzzed one last time, brief as a whisper. Say your line. Ghostlight humming, phone warm with a dare. Say your line. Aaron stands where their past breathes. The man in the black jacket waits in the aisle, patience like a blade. A ring in a box, a door left open, a decade of silence. One truth could end them, or begin them. Aaron didn't take the script page. He let it lie there, the circle around a life he didn't want anymore. The theater smelled like dust and electrified air, like the moment before a storm. Sam was beside, him as he had been once and not since, a hand's breadth away, as if the last 10 years were just a hallway they'd crossed to get here. Say your line, the phone had whispered, someone else's dare. But when Aaron inhaled, when he lifted his gaze into the house's dark, his voice found him like a friend arriving late and sure. I can't pretend, he said, eyes on Sam, not the stranger in the aisle, not the ghost light that held the stage's center like a small, brave sun. It isn't okay. It was never her. It was you. And it still is. Something unspooled in his chest like a tight thread finally given slack. Aaron watched the words land in Sam's face and change it, slackening the guardedness at his mouth, softening the worry lodged between his brows. Sam's inhale stuttered and steadied. He stepped forward that hand's breadth and erased it. Good, the man in the black jacket said mildly, like the word had been punched on a time card. He came closer, shoes whispering on the aisle carpet, the camera still around his neck, but quiet now. That's where we start. Who are you? Sam asked again, sharper now. And why do you have keys to places that don't belong to you? He stopped at the edge of the stage and tipped his head back to look at them, not deferential, not superior, like a man inspecting a view he'd been told about but hadn't yet believed in. Miles, he said. Sometimes company manager, sometimes house photographer, always insomniac. I didn't break in. I lock up more often than I'd like to admit. Director asked me to try something, an invitation you couldn't mistake for polite. He lifted his palm, half an apology. Platform K isn't real, but sometimes a stage door is. Aaron felt a small, disbelieving laugh arrive and leave his throat without permission. So you sent... Places, Miles said, nodding. And say your line. The house loves a prompt. He glanced at the phone in Aaron's hand. The ring photo wasn't me. I don't do apartments. Aaron didn't realize he'd been bracing for that until his knees felt less like joints and more like held breath. He looked at Sam, and in that look was everything they still didn't know. He slid the phone into his coat pocket as if putting it away could quiet the part of the night that would still want answers. "You can't direct us," Sam said, but without his earlier sting. "We're not here to audition." "Fine by me," Miles said easily. He hooked his thumb toward the house. "Do you know what a ghost light's for? Tradition says it keeps the spirits from running lines in an empty dark. Practicality says it stops a stagehand from walking off the edge when the place is blacked out. Either way, it's a small light that keeps people honest. Do what you came to do, then lock up. Or don't. I'm around the corner with a key and a terrible bagel." He smiled, thin and real. "And there's an actual invitation if you want it. The revival begins rehearsals on Monday. Sam, they want you. Aaron, your name came up more than once. You could say no, or you could walk in and see what part your mouth remembers." Something that wasn't fear flared in Aaron, quick and bright. Not ambition, not the old adolescent version that used applause to fill a quiet. This was something like relief, like the shape of his life could include more than one room. "We'll think about it," Sam said, careful like a man moving furniture in the dark. "And you'll stop texting people at 2 a.m. like a stagehand poltergeist." "You're not the first to suggest that," Miles said. He lifted the camera and took one photo, the click clean and unstealthy. "For the wall," he said, anticipating their wince. "Not the papers, not anyone's feed, just the theater remembering." "And the platform K?" Aaron asked before he could stop himself. Was there ever?" Miles shrugged. "Once during renovations, they labeled a storage spur K by accident. The sign stuck around longer than sense. Some people found it like you find an extra breath in a song. I took it down a few years back. I still think about it when I can't sleep." He tipped 2 fingers in a small salute and backed down the aisle. "Break legs or hearts, but not the law. Night." When the house door thudded closed behind him, the theater felt larger, not emptier. The ghost light hummed. The blue tape veins on the floor remembered other feet. Aaron exhaled and Sam let his name out like a prayer. "Aaron." He turned. The ring photo flashed in his memory again. It softened, lost its edge, reshaped itself around another truth he'd been avoiding. "I think the ring text was Claire," he said. Saying her name in front of Sam felt like placing a glass on a table, careful to make no extra noise. "New number, or a friend's. She has keys. She knows me. She knows what not wearing looks like." He swallowed hard. "I should have told her before any of this. I should have told her years ago who I am." Sam nodded slowly. "Do you want to call her now?" Aaron shook his head. "No," he said. "I want to do it sober and with daylight, and without pretending I'm consoling anyone. She deserves the truth, not my performance." "Okay," Sam said, and the word was a balm. He took Aaron's hand, simple and certain. His palm was warm. "Then say your line to me now, so you know what it sounds like in your own mouth." Aaron laughed. Surprise and fear twined. He looked at the post-it on the music stand, the hand that had written "don't," and felt the way the word dissolved under the heat of actual wanting. He stepped closer to Sam until the ghost light gilded the edges of them. "I love you," he said. It rushed out but didn't tumble. It landed and stayed. "I loved you then. I stopped like a coward. I pretended something kinder than the truth would keep us both from breaking. It didn't. I don't know how to be with you and be the version of myself everyone else is tipping for, but I know how it felt to not choose you, and I can't. I won't do that again." Sam's eyes shone like they were storing the light for later. "I left," he said. "I told myself that if you wanted me, you'd chase me, and I didn't even think about the roads I'd pulled up behind me. I was a boy who liked to burn bridges and call it architecture. I'm sorry. I'm here. I want to build a thing that lasts." They stood there with their foreheads almost touching, the ghost light a small star anchoring their sky. Outside, the city made its strange mechanical music. Inside, the theater forgot to be haunted. It was simply a room that knew how to hold what people said when no one else was listening. Aaron's phone vibrated in his pocket. He didn't let go of Sam's hand to check it. He lifted their joined hands and held them against his chest, as if showing Sam where the beat lived. "Answer," Sam whispered. "We're not in hiding." Aaron pulled the phone out. Claire's name stood there, familiar and clean. The message was short. "I went by your place. I know about the ring. I took the photo. I'm sorry." "Are you okay?" His throat tightened. He typed slowly, each word a step onto new ground. "I'm okay. I'm with someone I should have told you about a long time ago. I'm sorry I wasn't honest. Can we talk in the morning? I want to do this right." The dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Finally, "Okay, 10, bring coffee, and the truth." He exhaled a laugh and a sob at once. "She's brave," he said, the admission reverent. "So are you," Sam said, and leaned in until their brows met, a touch that felt like a promise older than either of them. "Say mine again." "I love you," Aaron said. Saying it once had been a rescue. Saying it twice felt like a key. Sam smiled, all the way to the parts of his face that had learned caution. He slipped his free hand to the back of Aaron's neck, familiar like a map. You could navigate in the dark. "It's okay," he murmured, the old line turned inside out. "Don't pretend." They kissed. Not the play's kiss, practiced into reliability. Not the terrified kiss of their 20s, lit by panic and possibility. This one was quiet and clear and tasted like coffee they hadn't finished and rain they had walked through, and years that had taught them both how to be gentle with what mattered. Aaron felt the stage under his feet steady. He felt the room approve, the way a room approves by not interrupting. When they parted, neither of them moved far. "Monday," Sam said, thumb brushing a place below Aaron's ear, as if he were feeling the outline of a future. "Rehearsal?" "Monday," Aaron echoed, the word coastal, a new shoreline found after a long swim. "And tomorrow, coffee, and the truth." They left the script page where it was, the circle around an old lie cooling. Aaron turned the ghost light a fraction, an unnecessary act that still felt like gratitude. At the door, they looked back. The stage was empty and alive. They left it that way. Outside, the city was considering morning. The rain had settled into a clean smell. Streetlights blinked as if they were trying to remember who they were when the sun came back. Aaron and Sam walked close, their coats touching. The same deliberate accident as before, but devoid of fear now. At the corner, Aaron's phone pinged again. Unknown this time. A different number. He braced without stopping. "Break a leg," the message said, or a pattern. He showed Sam. They both laughed, not because it wasn't eerie, but because the joke chose them. Miles, probably, or the city, or the theater itself, doing what it had always done, making a stage out of whatever space you dared to stand in and name yours. They crossed when the light allowed, and didn't hurry, and didn't hide. The night wasn't done with them. Neither was the day coming. But for once, standing exactly where he was, Aaron didn't feel like a man holding a pose. He felt like a man who had picked his line and said it out loud, and beside him, hand warm. In his, Sam whispered the only direction that mattered. "Stay."